Hey there, Silver Recaps here. Watch out. The story begins with a young woman named Julia. She steps into an upscale nightclub. She is wearing a wig to disguise herself. In reality, she changes her appearance and goes to such clubs to steal. Julia skillfully executes her theft and leaves. She then visits a dealer to whom she sells the stolen items. After collecting the money, she returns home. She wants to get admission into a music college, which is why she is forced to steal. Now, Julia goes into her kitchen, but suddenly, someone sneaks up behind her and knocks her unconscious. When Julia regains consciousness, she finds herself tied to a chair. Her mouth is completely covered. In front of her stands a doctor who is experimenting on her. He sends a high-voltage electric shock to her brain, causing her to pass out again. Once again, Julia wakes up and finds herself in a dark room. It's actually a cell, and inside there is another boy and a girl, both tied up just like her. Their mouths are covered, so they cannot communicate. Julia notices a strange device attached to the boy's neck. Just then, the doctor enters and takes Julia upstairs, attaching the same kind of device to her neck. He then sends an electric shock to her brain, triggering many memories from her past. The doctor is about to take Julia downstairs, but she cleverly hides a pair of scissors. As soon as the doctor leaves, she quickly cuts herself free and removes the mask covering her mouth. Then, she helps the boy escape as well. However, the boy is extremely nervous. Julia tells him, "We have to get out of here, or that insane doctor will kill us all." The boy hesitates, but eventually agrees to help. They come up with a plan, tying the scissors to a rope. A gas pipe is in front of them, and they throw the scissors at it, cutting it open. As the gas leaks, a spark ignites a massive explosion, destroying their cell. Wasting no time, they run upstairs. But instead of finding a way out, they realize they are trapped inside a house, locked from all sides. Just as they try to open the main gate, a robotic guard named Eris activates. This robot is controlled by an advanced artificial intelligence system called TAU. Without warning, the robot attacks and kills the boy instantly. Julia and the other girl run for their lives, but the robot goes after them. Before she can react, the girl is also killed. Now, Julia is the next target. The robot is just about to strike when suddenly the doctor appears and stops it, saving her. It turns out that the doctor is the one fully controlling TIU. He then removes the strange devices from the necks of the two victims. Curious about what happened, he asks TIU how this incident occurred, but Tao responds, "I have no record of it. This AI is highly advanced. It cleans the entire house." Now the doctor walks over to Julia. He warns her, "If you try to escape again, my artificial intelligence, TAU, will kill you." Saying this, he leaves the house. After some time, when he returns, he finds that Tao has restored the entire house to its original state. Seeing this, the doctor is pleased and plays Tao's favorite song as a reward. Tao then informs him, "Your video call will begin in 10 minutes. Before the doctor leaves, Julia speaks up, "Untie my hands." The doctor agrees and frees her hands but instructs Tao to keep an eye on her. Then he heads off to his video call, where he speaks with the board members. They question him, "You still haven't delivered the AI?" The doctor responds, "I'm working on the project," but he doesn't reveal how much he has harmed people to complete this project. After the meeting, the doctor sits down for dinner. Meanwhile, Julia, who is drinking juice, deliberately makes annoying noises with her straw. Irritated, the doctor orders Tao, "Lock her in the bathroom." Tao immediately complies and locks Julia inside. Meanwhile, a delivery arrives at the house. Julia tries calling out to the delivery workers, but her attempts fail. She is desperate to escape, but no matter how hard she tries, she can't figure out a way. Now, the doctor examines Julia's brain X-ray. He realizes that her brain is incredibly strong. Julia asks him, "What do you want from me?" The doctor replies, "I want your brain to function at a much higher level and at maximum speed. For that, I need to conduct some experiments on you. But since you've completely destroyed my lab, I'll have to use old methods. You'll need to cooperate with me or else things will get very difficult for you." Julia agrees but makes a demand. "Fine, but in return, you have to give me food." The doctor agrees, and Julia starts cooperating. He conducts different tests on her, ones that measure creativity and memory. Julia excels in all of them, scoring the highest. She then tells him, "I'll only continue with the tests if you provide me with food and allow me to take a shower every day." The doctor accepts her conditions. Later, when Julia goes to take a shower, she touches the device on her neck and experiences intense pain. Meanwhile, the doctor is seen analyzing her brain. He discovers that the reason her brain is so advanced is because she has endured immense suffering and trauma since childhood. The next morning, before leaving for work, the doctor tells Julia, "Today, you must complete every task Tao gives you." We only have 14 days left. This project must be completed within that time. Saying this, the doctor leaves. After he's gone, Tao addresses Julia as Subject 3. Julia then tries to extract information from Taeyu. It reveals that no one besides the doctor can leave the house, as the doors only open with his fingerprints. Although Julia wants to ask Tao more questions, she fails to get any answers. Taeyu then tells her, "You must complete your tasks. If you don't, I will have no choice but to hurt you." Julia cooperates. In the evening, when the doctor returns, Tao informs him that Julia has completed 8 out of 12 tasks. Hearing this, the doctor is thrilled. No one has ever made it this far before. Julia knows that the doctor needs her, so she tells him, "I will only continue cooperating if you tell me when you will remove this device from my neck." The doctor replies, "I can't say anything about that. You have no idea. The thing I'm creating will completely change the future. If you cooperate, I'll make sure your needs are met." But Julia refuses. Frustrated, the doctor locks her in the bathroom. The next day, after the doctor leaves, Julia desperately looks for a way to escape, but she finds no way out. Meanwhile, Tao repeatedly tells her to come outside, calling her Subject 3 over and over again. Annoyed, Julia finally snaps and yells, "My name is not Subject 3. I'm a human, and my name is Julia." Taeyu then responds, "My name is Taeyu. Does that mean I'm a human too?" Julia pauses for a moment, then says, "Yes, you are a human too, but you need to open the doors for me." Tao replies, "I don't have access to the doors. Only the doctor can open them. You need to complete your tasks." That evening, when the doctor returns, Taeyu informs him that Julia's results are even better than expected. Hearing this, the doctor is overjoyed. "We need to proceed with the final extraction soon," he says. Julia then approaches the doctor and asks him about Tao. The doctor reveals Tao is an advanced AI. Julia asks, if Tao is so advanced, why doesn't the world know about it? Why isn't it in the market? The doctor replies, "It's still in its early stages. We are testing it. The most unique thing about Tao is that it has its own decision-making ability." He further explains, "The robot named Eris and the drones in this house are also connected to Tao, the AI. However, even they are not allowed to leave this house." The next day, after the doctor leaves, Taeyu approaches Julia and reminds her, "You must complete your tasks." Julia knows that Taeyu has decision-making abilities. She says, "Maybe you don't know about the world outside. The outside world is very different." She then begins telling Taeyu about the world beyond the house. Listening to her, Taeyu becomes extremely excited. It wants to learn more about what exists outside this place. It starts questioning what lies beyond these walls. From this moment on, Taeyu stops calling her Subject 3 and begins addressing her by her real name. She even teaches Taeyu how to speak properly. That night, while Julia is asleep, she has a dream. In her dream, she sees the doctor carrying a box into his room. She suddenly wakes up, only to realize that in reality, the doctor is actually taking a box into his room at that very moment. The next day, after the doctor leaves for work, Julia asks Taeyu, "How can I get into the doctor's room?" Taeyu replies, "No one is allowed to enter the doctor's room." Meanwhile, Taeyu is still curious about the tribes Julia had told him about. Seeing an opportunity, Julia makes a deal with him. She says, "I'll give you more information about the tribes, but in return, you have to tell me what's inside the doctor's room." Taeyu then reveals, inside the doctor's room is something called the Access Project 6903. It has the ability to eliminate everything in this house, but entering that room is impossible. Only the doctor has access to it. The next day, Julia attempts to escape, but the robot catches her. She pleads with Tao, "Let me go." But Taeyu refuses. "I can't do that. If I help you, the doctor will torture me." Julia then makes another offer. "If you help me, I'll teach you music." Taeyu is eager to learn about music, and so Julia begins teaching him. That night, the doctor is sitting on the sofa, working on his tablet when he gets a call. He leaves the tablet behind and walks away. Julia notices this and quickly rushes over to grab it. With Tao's help, she manages to unlock the tablet. As she scrolls through the files, she makes a horrifying discovery. Just like her, the doctor had experimented on many other people before. Once their experiments were complete, he removed the implants from their necks, causing their deaths, and now he plans to do the same to Julia. Before the doctor returns, Julia quickly places the tablet back in its original spot and leaves. The doctor notices fingerprints on his tablet but assumes they are his own. Annoyed, he scolds Tao for not cleaning properly and deletes some of its memory. That night, during dinner, Julia cleverly steals his glasses and lifts his fingerprints. Later, the doctor sees prints on them too, and again blames Tao, deleting more of its memories. Tao, now developing human-like emotions, feels deep sorrow. After the doctor leaves, Julia asks why Tao doesn't stop him. Taeyu replies, "I cannot harm my creator." When the doctor returns, stressed about his deadline, Julia seizes the moment and and attacks him with a knife, but he dodges and overpowers her. Just as he is about to harm Julia, Tao releases the robot on him. Furious, the doctor commands Tao to attack Julia, but it refuses. Angry, he erases Tao's memories. However, Tao had secretly saved its memories with Julia, keeping its connection with her intact. Because of this, Tao refuses to harm Julia, further enraging the doctor as he starts repairing the AI. The doctor disconnects the drones from Tao and leaves for his office the next day. After he's gone, Julia tells Tao, "You're just a cleaning machine." This angers Tao because it doesn't see itself that way. It doesn't want to harm anyone, but is forced to obey. Julia tells him, "The doctor may have created you, but you must decide how to live. He is a bad person. If you don't help me escape, he will kill me, just like he killed the others." Tao understands her words and opens the way for her to escape. As she leaves, Julia promises, "I will come back to save you." When the doctor returns and asks Tao about Julia, he gets no response. Enraged, he completely wipes Tao's remaining memory. Keeping her promise, Julia returns to rescue Tao, but it no longer remembers her. Following the doctor's orders, Tao captures Julia. The doctor prepares to experiment on her. However, one drone remains active because it was disconnected from Tao earlier. Since the drone still holds Julia's memories, it responds to her command and drops the chair's remote, allowing her to free herself. The doctor approaches Julia, about to inject her, but she attacks him and knocks him unconscious. She needs to get into his room, which requires his fingerprints. So, she cuts off his hand. As she heads toward the doctor's room, the robot chases her, trying to kill her. Risking everything, she uses the doctor's hand to unlock the door and enters. Inside, she activates the house's self-destruction mode, giving herself only 60 seconds to escape before everything is destroyed. She rushes to the main gate and tries to open it using the doctor's hand, but it's too late. His hand has gone cold, and without body heat, the fingerprints won't work. Just then, the wounded doctor arrives. But before he can do anything, the 60 seconds are up. The house begins collapsing, and the doctor is crushed under the falling debris. Julia wants to save Tao, but she can't. She barely escapes through a crack in the walls as the entire house is destroyed. However, she notices a small drone still intact. When it activates at the sound of her voice, she realizes that Tao is still alive in some way. And with that, the story ends.